Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Devtita Herlanindika. I want to tell you about those limits. Those limits are a fundamental component of radiation protection, and breaching these limits is against radiation regulation in most countries. Those limits are recommended by the International Commission on Radiological Protection or ICRP. They are in place to ensure that individuals are not exposed to an unnecessarily high amount of ionizing radiation. In addition, in Indonesia itself, it is contained in the government regulation of the Republic of Indonesia, Indonesian number 33, year 2007, about ionizing radiation safety and radioactive source security. The reason for those limits. The first is to make risks from occupational exposure comparable to the risks for workers in other safe industries. This means that the limits are split into two groups, the public and occupationally exposed worker. The second is high doses will cause cancer. Cancer is one of the most common causes of death in industry. Some cancer cases are caused by background radiation. Occupationally exposed worker. The first is effective dose is 20 millisievert a year, the equivalent dose to the length of the eye. 20 millisievert a year, same with effective dose. And the third is the equivalent dose to the skin is 500 millisievert in year. The equivalent dose to the hands and feet is 500 millisievert in a year. The ICRP recommends that occupational exposure of pregnant women should fall into the limit similar to that of the public. For the first is effective dose is 1 millisievert a year. The equivalent dose to the length of the eye is 15 millisievert a year. The equivalent dose to the skin is 50 millisievert a year. Those limits do not apply to medical exposure. However, the concept of radiation protection is still pertinent. Okay, the last is summary of those limiting recommendation. Annual dose limits for occupational exposure worker is the equivalent of an effective whole body dose of 50 millisievert. The annual dose limit for the general population is 1 millisievert for frequent exposure and 5 millisievert for infrequent exposure. For practical purpose, a protective design for X-ray facilities based on the lower bound. In essence, the facility must demonstrate that X-ray surgery is unlikely to produce doses greater than 1 millisievert for each community member over a 1-year period. The recommended lifetime cumulative dose for worker exposed at work is 10 millisievert times age in years. For example, a 50-year-old technologist has a recommended accumulated dose of no more than 500 millisievert. Individuals younger than 18 years of age may not imply in situations where they are exposed to work. The dosage limit for minor is the same as the general one public 1 millisievert per year. Okay, thank you guys. Sorry for my faults. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.